My Sister, My Writer is not as bad as I was told, but it is pretty bad. I like a few things about it, but I can acknowledge that not only is it not for everyone, it's very clearly meant for the niche of people that enjoy broic cis romance comedies. I personally find Suzaku herself adorable, and her growth as a character and light novel is entertaining, but my god, I cannot defend you for the life of me. If you were to threaten me with a brick to my face and tell me to try to defend you, I'd start talking about how that brick is a better character than you, and would also better be used as construction material without my blood on it. But I suppose I should do a better primer before we get too far into this. Alright, you, our lead character, is an aspiring light novelist in high school trying to make his first big break. At the end of the first episode, it's revealed that his sister Suzuka has made a light novel herself to win a major local contest with it. But, and here's the primary twist for the show, she's in middle school, so she can't actually be the public voice of her series, so she asks you to be it. And then, ecchi tropes. From here on out, the story is mostly just ecchi tropes being thrust upon you who doesn't want them and is too much of a fucking moron to know how to avoid them. Now, here's where we start getting into why this anime is so reviled on the various social media platforms. This story isn't Yu's story, but we're primed to think that it's his and that he's going to have a drastic change at the end of it and grow into being a better person. However, it's very clear that this is actually Suzuku's story. She actually changes and develops throughout, albeit in small ways, even with crushing on her dipshit brother whose only positive trait is that he's really, really reliable. And even that isn't actually shown to us, save for the arc where Suzuku gets a cold and he takes care of her over the course of a weekend. So what makes the story so bad? Mostly it's the facts of Shu being a fucking dumbass the entire show, and that it's trying to use all the ecchi tropes it can think of and twist them, without actually twisting them. When Yu goes to accept Suzuku's award for her first volume, her new editor forces Yu's hand onto her breast because she thinks that it will help Yu's virgin mind with implying context and sensation into his scenarios. Here's where Yu stays for the entire show. He only ever gets enough backbone to oppose other people's positions on a rematch and or when Suzuku is around, and it gets really hard to see why other people don't start asking if Yu actually made Suzuku's story. On every first meeting or when Suzuku isn't around, the entire cast walk all over him without realizing that he clearly didn't write this most beautiful story. As the show goes on, we get most of the tried and true stereotypes associated with harems, because what the show actually wants to be is a cheesy harem comedy where no one ever has to change or evolve. Unfortunately, this actually goes against what the show is fairly early on. See, these girls, they're both most of the conflict in the show, and totally not important with a single rewrite. Mai's here just to fill time and have her own arc conclude and then be useless for the rest of the show. Ahego is here to make more sexual tension that we don't need and shouldn't want with Suzuku. Minazuki is here to draw up a pointless competition with Suzuku and to show off that most of the people that really like this light novel are 20-something women, which is already all of the rest of the cast. These three are bad enough, and I actually enjoy their arcs, but they are totally unimportant. Mai's arc doesn't affect Yu or Suzuku in any way. Ahego doesn't change at all during her arc, and her arc is used mostly to introduce 2 more members into the harem that don't get arcs because it's a 10-episode series and not a full 13. Minazuki's arc concludes as a coincident solution for the final conflict of the show, but doesn't actually change anybody either. Again, these characters are pointless. However, I do enjoy them. Ahego's joke is actually pretty funny to me, but it keeps getting told in front of Suzuku, who doesn't get it even after the point when she gets told what it means. Mai is an actual character with a goal in mind, and actually achieves it thanks to a brief, very brief, moment of Yu actually being competent. And Minazuki's conflict with Suzuku does serve as an interesting look into the normal lives of, well, just Minazuki, honestly. Oh, and Akeno isn't a bitch, so she's fine. I will say that the characters are something that kept me interested in seeing what the show would try to do. Pity then that all it actually did was do the stupid ecchi tropes and have Suzuku not be okay with it despite it happening over and over again. It gets old right around episode 5 or 6 when Suzuku actually opens up the doujinshi that she, Yu, and Ahego made in a mostly pointless career wager, and she yells at Yu for being a perverted demon. Again. Guys, you can't keep using this joke when Ahego is the illustrator of Suzuku's books. They would talk to each other about this stuff. Fucking idiots. Hell, the editor, Shirazaki, outright asked Suzuki to insert panty-peeking scenes into the next volume, and she has to ask her brother what that means? Why? If the editor is asking about them, then clearly there's already some erotic or sensual content in the first volume, so Suzuku should already know about most of this stuff already. Again, I like the cast. I personally don't find any of them very titillating, but they are somewhat fleshed out and likable, except for Runa. And Yu's constant dumb fuckery had me pause and facepalm multiple times from just how dense and fucking stupid he is. Yes, that's redundant, but it's very clearly not enough because I kept thinking that in almost every scene, except the one where he's actually taking care of Suzuku. He's very clearly a good brother, and I can almost see why Suzuku has a crush on him, but he's not worth it. Putting up with his stupidity was the hardest part of the show. So you know those comics that Linkara talks about that are musically inclined but don't actually feature any music peripherals or recommendations? Yeah, the show does that with 2.5 volumes of Suzuku's book. We see a title color for both volumes and the doujinshi, but we never actually learn what the story is about or what actually makes Ryo and Yuki, the characters from Suzuku's light novel, so adorable. We are told it's mostly the love and passion that Suzuku put into the characters, and that it's effectively a biographical tale of how Suzuku feels about you, but even though everyone talks about how great it is, no one really talks about why it's so great. It's all emotion, and that's honestly how the characters and especially the scenarios are treated here. The defense the fans tend to give is that it's a parody, but it's just not. It wants to be a parody, but it plays these scenes straight too often and too cleanly to do that, and to steal a problem from the show, it feels hollow. For example, around episode 7, Ahago has Yu and Suzuku play out an S&M fetish scene, and Suzuku spills her heart out to Yu in what is very clearly not in her light novel series. But the scene is played for last because Yu just let everyone step all over him again, and complains the entire time about how wrong this is. It's not funny because this is actually how Suzuku feels, and no one catches it. Ahago's excuse is solid. She loves drawing the intense S&M scenes so much that she's not really hearing what Suzuku is saying, but Yu clearly is, and he still thinks it's an act for the scene. If either of them were in character, this might actually be a funny scene, but neither of them are ready to go that far down that road, and it feels, well, hollow. If it was an actual parody of the genre, either Suzuku or Yu would be totally into it and lose themselves in the character and have to come to terms with what they did over the rest of the episode. Instead, they decided they don't have time for that and push Suzuku into getting a cold so he can explore Ahago's passion and personality, which has already been firmly established. And it's just payoff for a foregone conclusion of Suzuku's career wager. As the audience, we know she can't actually lose the wager because that would be a huge development for the series, and the series just won't have those. And it should. The most insulting thing about this anime, aside from the horizontal pans and vertical shots, my god, do those suck so much. But for some fucking reason, instead of having a good or even questionable ending like Koikaze did, it instead decides to do a fucking harem ending with Suzuku never getting the conclusion that she actually deserves. All the times Yu makes the confession that she wants, he immediately backpedals and says it was either an act in order to play the character better, or just a better part of the ruse to convince other people that he is who he says he is. And it seriously pisses me off. If you want to do a bro exist story where the brother and sister actually like each other, then one of them should be happy at the end. Yu is forever unchanged by his experience here, aside from maybe learning how to inject passion into his characters on his own novels, and Suzuku is forever going to have a huge crush on her brother that she can't get over. Seriously, fuck you. And the character Yu too. Heh, wordplay puns. Is this really the worst anime I've ever seen? Nah. I sat through fucking Zombie-Lone, which was so bad it made me binge a Girl-chan in Paradise to try and remember what good anime was. Girl-chan is not actually that good, but it is somewhat funny, and it's a one-man project. Well, mostly one man. I've seen better incest anime, but I've seen worse, too. Angel Sanctuary is an incest anime that wants to be an exploration of Catholic demonology crossed with Akira, and it does none of that well. Koikaze is really damn cute for the most part, but it's a bit squeaky given the age difference in the characters, and I'm not sure I've seen any other incest-focused shows. Huh. But yeah, My Sister, My Writer is bad, but not the worst anime ever. Is it the worst anime of 2018? Possibly. I think Conception is likely worse to me given how much Jeff railed on it, but the only 2018 anime I actually watched was Overlord 3, which was both awesome and teasing me so hard. This has been Gerdat14 ranting about an anime he watched, and be safe, persons.